Dielectrics and non-dielectrics. Okay. If you've never heard this term, it is pretty much it is a science. Go impress somebody. Go find someone and say, hey, you know that dielectric looks pretty cool. They can say, what do you mean? What are you talking about? So every time you hear the term dielectric, we're talking about plastics, and we're also talking about things like some stones, not all stones, gemstones, um, marble would be considered a gemstones, more transparent. Marble has some sort of transparency, and the reason why is because marble has, and like your skin is translucent, some marbles are. We have this thing that we utilize called SSS, which stands for subsurface scattering. What subsurface scattering pretty much is, if you go out and take a flashlight and you shine it right behind your hand, you can see the blood vessels. The light shines through. You can see your veins. You can see all that stuff, right? That's basically what that is. Candles also. So basically, skin, candles, some stone, marble. Believe it or not, liquids like milk and OJ, if I'm not mistaken. Those things, subsurface scattering works really well through those. So do your research on subsurface scattering. This can be a little complicated to set up, but I can show you later. If you take an advanced class for me in character, that's what I'm going to be showing these your peers who are taking my advanced 3D modeling class, the character class, how to set up subsurface scattering for skin and all this good jazz inside of Marmoset tool bag and possibly inside of Unreal. So it is a process, and how to texture that stuff in something like Substance Painter. Okay, this other one is pretty much metals. Okay, well, that's it. Dielectrics and non-dielectrics. So non-conductive, conductive. Make sense? Everyone understand? Okay, that's pretty much what happens here.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Uh, for subsurface scattering, I missed it. You just said it's essentially just the way light reflects through those materials, or?
Not reflect, translucency. Certain
Okay.
materials out there, you can if you shine a light through them, they become translucent. Not 100% transparent, but somewhat translucency. So you have transparency, and we're also going to talk about these different type of when we get over into Unreal, we're going to talk about what PBR is and all these different materials that you all are going to need to know. So we have transparency, translucency, I think I'm spelling that wrong. It's translucent. So transparency between 0 to 100%. At 0, something is very dark. You can't see through it, and then at 100%, you can see through that. That's like glass. So this would be more glass-like, right? Translucency, which would be also between 0 to say 100%, but the only difference is you're going to have somewhat of roughness associated with this, and another term. So we've now have moved away from glossiness, gloss. So, and we're gonna look at what these two mean, because one is still used in visual effects. This one here is really more gaming. Both are gaming, but this term here, I guess both can still also be used in visual VFX. So that's pretty much like what it means is I don't want to confuse you here, but this one here is, like I say, it's really between 0 being completely dark, 100% is completely glass, and then the You can go 50%, which is semi-transparent. It's the amount of light that can go through an object. Translucency it has a lot to do with the thickness of an object also. So how thick your skin is will determine how much light goes through it. Okay, do a little research on that. Look that up. Do a little research. So that's kind of what we're needing to look at a lot of this today. Let me cover a little bit of these materials, because these are old school. So we have a program here. We have virtual production, we have gaming. Virtual production use the tools that we have in gaming, but it's pretty much not the same. But they utilize the exact same techniques and processes somewhat, a little bit. So the terminology, you will have certain terms for visual effects also, which virtual production is pretty much visual effects, and then gaming uses a series of different type of terms. Okay, but we often share these terms. So in visual effects, VFX, and then we have gaming. What we are going to have is, when we're talking about materials / shaders. Okay, so, and when it comes to materials and these shaders, you're going to have certain things like color. Okay, you're going to have like gloss, specularity, AO, which stands for ambient occlusion, you're gonna, and same thing over here. So we're gonna have over here, this now is being called rough because it's a PBR shader. PBR pretty much stands for physical base shader, or no, renderer. Let me just get rid of that ugly. Physical base render, and this is what is working now in gaming. Physical base render. This is more real time. Real time rendering. Okay, that is what what we see when you're playing your video games. Over here now, just because specularity is changed, you still, this should be roughness, you still have specularity, which can be used, and it's a little bit different from the roughness. We also have metallic, which now metallic here is that gloss. Okay, that's pretty much what that is, glossiness. And then we have another one, which is going to be arm is your AO, your ambient occlusion. Okay, I'm gonna write this down. We'll talk about it later, and especially on Wednesday, I'm gonna put arm. Arm is ambient occlusion, roughness, metallic, is equal to RG. Well, let's do that right, so you all understand this. Software I'm using is called Epic Pen, and it's free. You can go get it, a free version. RG B. Red, blue, green. So pretty much, if you can remember this, the ambient occlusion goes into the red channel, so the roughness will go into the green channel, and the metallic will go into the blue channel. Okay, that's pretty much what that means. So just, you can look this up also. There are tutorials out there, and I think somewhere in that little resource section I provide all of that information over there too. Okay. Give me a second. I'm recording, but I don't see any audio moving. Hey, someone say something right quick.
Hello. Hello?
Hello.
Okay, there it is. Let me make sure. Let me check my mic settings. Give me just a second. All right, there it is. I see it. Okay. So I know a lot of this stuff is going to be a little confusing. No, roughness is not so here's why this is important here, and this is where we're going. So, R is not, R is roughness, and it's not red. No, that's not how that works. This uses a term. I'm going to introduce you to a term that you all are going to need to know. It's called scalar. That's a term. That term basically means grayscale. So the grayscale values are going to be, you're going to go from white, and then in here it's going to keep going to white, and then in here you're going to get that gray, which that doesn't look gray, sorry. You're going to get that gray, and then all the way to black. That's your grayscale values, and you're going to hear that term scalar. The way this works, and if you didn't know this, if you were working inside of Photoshop, the way this information works pretty much is like this. When you're looking at colors, your colors is a wavelength thing. It's a lighting and a wavelength thing. So this is your red, your green, and your blue. We're talking about the RGB mode. All of this is nothing but scalar information. So you're looking at grayscale information, but the problem is some of the channels have a different value of that gray. Okay, it has a somewhat of a different look or different values of gray. Okay, so there may be a certain amount of gray in the red channel, a little bit certain amount of gray in the green channel, and a certain amount of gray tones in the blue channel. When you blend all those together, that's what gets you your color. That's what's happening here. So all of this information is nothing but grayscale information. So red can't go to red. The ambient occlusion, which is scalar information also, what an ambient occlusion is, and I need to really explain this. An ambient occlusion we used to be called just a dirt map. So pretty much wherever you have detail on an object, say you got some sort of shape in here, every place there is a crack, a bump, or whatever, inside of there is black. It's just shadow information. So ambient occlusions are normally this. It's where the light can't penetrate. So if you look at a surface of a model, any place when the light hits that surface is going to be white. When you start having cracks, dimples, all kind of little scratches and stuff like that, inside of those scratches, the light can't penetrate. It's going to be black. That's what an ambient occlusion is. And we used to use these for all our texturing. It has gotten a whole lot better. We don't have to go through that old method anymore, but we use these ambient occlusions a lot. Okay. Now some of the next maps in here are just regular normal maps, like NM stands for normal map. Let me see how far do I want to take this. We have normal maps. We have normal maps here. We have ID maps. They do use some form of ID materials over here. Over here, displacements, bump. Over here, we still use displacements. We can use bump, but to be honest with you, a bump is scalar. This is scalar. This one gets you more detail. But the normal map here is the one. This is a magic. This is basically a lighting effect that gets you your detail in game. This is one of the most important maps here. This one here uses RGB to get you a unique color, which I wish I had the color here. It's going to get you this purplish lavender color. That's where all your details are coming from. But you can utilize and mix in a displacement map for that. Okay. But there are some other ones in here that I'm not listing. What is it? You can separate lights. Over here, this list gets really long and complicated. Reason why is because we in visual effects we use a process called multipass rendering. We can also do multipass inside of gaming, and pretty much to quickly sort of explain that, it's like taking ingredients to make a cake. Right? You want to make a cake, and you want to separate out all the ingredients for that cake. Flour, what is it, milk maybe. You take all of that stuff and you make a cake. Well, in 3D, we have to, once we create the object, we can work backwards. And so instead of taking the ingredients, we're working backwards. We're separating all that stuff out into ingredients, and that's what these are. So I can render out just a color, I can render out just a roughness, just a metallic, just an ambient occlusion, just my normal map, just my displacement, my bump, my specular. I can render out all that stuff separately, and using a compositing package, I can put all that stuff together. This is how films are done. Reason why they do this for rendering is because directors are going to come in and say, hey Joe, I know you got this, we got this red apple. Well, and that red apple has some sort of specularity there. One, the specularity is set up too high. We need to reduce that. A amateur will go in and want to re-render this whole thing and say, well, we got 1,000 frames or 10,000 frames, and the camera is going to rotate around that apple. Well, if you just render out 10,000 frames, you make a change, you got to go back and you change. And he says, hey, instead of making it a red apple, now we want to make this a granny apple. We want it to be green, and we want the spec to be a little lower at 10,000 frames. If you do it correctly and you render things out in passes, I no longer have to go into the 3D package, make it green, change the color from red to green, and then re-render 10,000 frames. That's going to take forever. We don't have to do that. Because we have a color channel, and because we have a roughness channel or specular channel, that stuff there is separated. So I get nothing but 10,000 frames of just color that I can add a hue saturation to and change the color over to green. Okay, that's how they save money. And that process is called, to do that, is called multipass. Okay, so we're multipass rendering out all of these different channels, and you can do that. That happens in Unreal. Unreal does have the ability to do stuff like that. Okay, so why am I telling you all this? Well, reason why we're going into all of this good stuff and this good jazz is because now inside of the Unreal Engine, what we need to do is utilize a lot of that stuff there. So this is this is basically what you're going to be doing this week. This week you're going to have two parts. We're going to look at dielectrics, and then you're going to go in and you're going to create stuff like this. And then I may show you, I think I have a video someplace where I show you how to do stuff like that. Okay, so I'm going to create a new scene. Okay, and let's go ahead and jump in and figure out what we're doing here. So I need to show you how to create materials, and then I'm going to show you how to pretty much start connecting these nodes. Now Unreal has a massive amount of nodes, N-O-D-E, nodes. This is a node-based type way of working. Some programs are layered based, but nodes are really pretty good. A node is nothing but a container that has properties on it. That's pretty much what it is. So let's create some stuff. Let's go ahead and take, it already has some of my stuff in here. I need to find starter. Where are the shapes? Let's start with a sphere. Okay. A few things that I definitely need to explain to you really first before even getting into this stuff is exposures and kind of how Unreal reads that stuff real quick. So let me clear all this stuff out here. Unreal measures lighting when you're changing colors and all through exposure. Does anyone know what exposure is? Anyone study photography? You have a. Does anyone know what exposures pretty much means?
Is that the amount of light that reaches the camera sensor?
Thank you, Floyd. Yes, exactly right. You're the first student that I ever had to actually get that correct. So how much light is going into a camera? Okay. Reason why this is also going to be important, because later we're going to use HDRI. I used to teach students how to create their own HDRI images, which stands for High Dynamic Range Images. What this pretty much means is inside, and we're jumping the gun a little bit, inside of lighting we have what's called direct and indirect lighting. Your direct lighting would be taking a light source, some sort of light bulb, your ceiling lights, or a stage lighting, and shining that thing on someone. Okay. Indirect lighting would be anything, ambient lighting, sunlight coming through your window. That's indirect lighting. We can light an environment with direct and indirect. We can light it with both. HDRIs are actually indirect. I can light a whole environment without using direct lights. I can light an environment with just using an image, and we're going to take a look at that down the road. This is important because in order to create HDRIs, it's done through exposure, and you need certain cameras to do this. But you might be able to get away. I think cell phones, your current cell phones, you can create your own HDRIs if you have VR or 360 devices. You can create your own HDRIs through exposure. If you have a digital SLR, which is the most common way of doing, you can create your own HDRIs. You can find these things online for free, but it's always better to create your own, because sometimes you have to create your own. So the way this works in programs like Unreal now, and also in visual effects, you all play games where it looks so real. Okay, where you're like, the lighting, this character looks real, like it's, the way they're doing that is through HDRI. In order to do that through direct lighting, it takes a long time, and it's going to use up a lot of resources, but you can use an image to do that. The image is going to, the way this works is through, you take multiple images, 9 to 10, normally it's going to be about 9 or whatever, it depends on what your camera can do. You're going to overexpose, and this is the default correct, to underexpose. Pretty much means we're going to go from this gray to black. This is going to be a neutral color. So if there was a way for me to make this neutral, that's going to be more of a neutral color. So this is your beauty. You'll hear that term in visual effects also. So this is your beauty pass, your beauty. So every time you take a photograph of something, it takes all those different RGB colors and it makes one solid, nice picture. That's called a beauty pass or beauty. Okay. So we're gonna go underexposed to overexposed. We can take all of those images and blend them all together. That's how we get our lighting in visual effects. This is how we get our lighting inside. One option to get our lighting inside of Unreal. Okay, we're going to take a look at that. I wish we could build it ourselves, but we're going to really take a look at it next week. So the reason why I'm mentioning exposure is because inside of the engine, middle gray. So I'm going to let me go ahead and get it started. I'm going to show you what most people will do for something like that. So let's go back up. I'm going to go into the material here. and I'm going to say I already have dielectrics and non-dielectrics. I'm going to create a new folder. So let's start here. Let's create folders here. Right click, new folder, formats. Just call it formats for now because I already have a folder here. Come on, rename you F2, capital MAT, formats. So I need to, this color right now, and because I made this ball, if I want to get in and start seeing the material there, there's a base material right here. All I need to do is double click here if I want to open up the material editor. This is where you're going to spend a lot of your time in, the material editor. It already has a color on it and it has a roughness channel. We're going to take a look at how to create these today. Okay, so that color is set to this little off-white. It doesn't look off-white, but it is an off-white. Okay, now let's take a look at how to create our own material. This is the default material that comes along with this. I don't want to use that thing. I'm going to right click here and I'm going to create a material, and we'll just call this one and what do I want to do? Let's call it black. Let's just go ahead and create a black one. MAT, capital MAT. I put MAT there so it lets me know that I'm dealing with my own with materials that I'm going to create. Okay, I can double click here now. It's going to open up the material editor again. Now this is, you notice that there's nothing assigned. This is called a shader. The material domain, this is the surface for that thing, and then we have a shader here. Shading model is set to default lit. Look at all these different ones that you have inside of Unreal. This can get very, very complicated. Even subsurface in here, when we want to have certain translucency in here, you can change these, and often you have to change these. Okay, this is going to require you to do some research here. So if you want to make glass, you have to switch these things over to certain ones. Here are all the shaders that are assigned to that default lit. We have color, metallic, spec, roughness, anisotropic, which we're not going to use. Emissive is an emissive channel, is another channel that I should have added to the list. This is how sometimes you're playing these video games and you're wondering how you get these simulated light, or you get some. You look at a panel and the panels are lit up. They're using an emissive channel, and all that is an alpha channel that has color assigned to it. So I can show you how to create that too. We have normal, we have a tangent. There's two different types, or two different types of normal maps when you're dealing with normals. Okay, so when we're dealing with normals here, we have two different types of channels for normal maps. We have, and the terminology changes somewhat. We have what's called a tangent base, object, or world. Okay, tangent is normally the one you use for characters or anything moving, movable objects. Object space is going to look a little different. Sometimes they're going to look, especially in their appearance, this is more set for stationary objects here, and this one is going to give you this lavenderish type purplish. The color purple is in here, but I wish we had lavender. So it's going to give you more of a purplish type color here, and the lights. This is affected by lighting. I'll run a demonstration down the road, maybe on Wednesday or whatever, and to sort of go in detail to show you what this is. We can create these in Substance Painter, we can create them in Maya, we can create them in any three. Blender, if you're using Blender, you can create your own tangent based normal map. You can create your own object based normal map. So if I have objects like rocks that I know that the lights and the shadows are not going to move, the shadow, when the lights move, the shadows are going to move through a tangent. They're not going to move through object. Okay, but I needed to mention that. So over here, and then you see we have the ambient occlusion. So the ambient occlusion, I explained that one. And then we have some other ones that are just kind of, we don't see them. And the reason why we don't see them is because we have to change the actual shader in order to activate them. There are a few other tricks in here, but we can do that. So what I want to show you all We're going to look at what is considered middle gray inside of Unreal. If you were working in middle gray because of PBR, this is all because of PBR. So because of PBR, middle gray is no longer 50%. So what I mean by that is some people used to just take they'll go and make it gray, and they'll put in a 0.5 to change that color to middle gray. Nope, that's not like that anymore. Middle gray in Unreal and most 3D packages now is going to be 0.18 or 18%. So if you go in and you make your middle gray a 0.5, it's going to be wrong. 100% absolutely wrong. Okay, you can't do that anymore. So let's go ahead and go down the line. We're going to make a black ball, white ball, gray ball, and a chrome ball. I'm going to show you how to do that because these are for visual effects, and when you're displaying out your materials and stuff inside of Unreal, you kind of want those so you can check some things. So we make a black ball so we can actually check the shadows and make sure we're not overexposing too much. The white ball is set up to make sure we're not too far underexposed. Then we have a middle gray, so we want to check the middle gray values, and then the chrome ball is we can check the reflectivity of things inside of the environment, how the lights are going to be reflected, the sky is going to be reflective and all. So that's what we're going to be doing here. So let's go ahead and set this up. So I need to go ahead and cover with you how to start. We're basically getting into how we're going to start adding color, adding these nodes. There are a few things that we can do here. Unreal has a palette. Look at all these nodes. There's hundreds of them, but you're not going to know which one to use. There are some standard ones, the ones that you see a number by or you see a shortcut. These are the most standard nodes that you're going to be using here. So you need to write these down over time and learn these things. Okay. Add, multiply, lerp. Linear, it's called a lerp. You'll hear me use the word lerp. It's called linear interpolation. We're going to take a look at that. But that's what we're doing here. Okay. So I need to, so we can come in here. You can search for like something like a constant 1, constant 2, constant 3, texture node and all. Or we can right click. If I right click here, I can look and do a search. So if I'm looking for, say, a constant 1, constant, you won't see the 1, it's just say constant. I can click that. Now I have a constant there. A constant is pretty much just I can increase the values from 0 to 1. So if I pipe this in here at 0, it's black. If I put in a 1, it's going to go white. That's a constant 1. Constant 2, you notice that I don't want to have to keep doing this. I don't want to have to keep right clicking and searching there. So I can use the shortcuts. A shortcut for a constant 1 is hold the 1 key down and click. Constant 2, hold the number 2 down and click it. Constant 3, hold the 3 down. And constant 4, hold the 4 down. And each one of these, you notice that over time what's happening is you're getting RGB and an alpha. So we have here what constant 2 is red and green. Constant 3, we have the red, the green, and the blue. Constant 4, red, blue, green, and an alpha assigned to that. This is just the output node that we can output to anything here. It's going to take all these channels and output them there, but I can output any one of these little channels here. And again, these are grayscale. These are just different values. You make certain values to get a red. You make certain things to get a green, which really you can't do. What colors can we mix to get red? Is there any colors that we can mix to get red? This is color theory. Okay? These are primary colors. Thank you. So because they are primary colors, that's the way it works. Okay, but does yellow and blue make green? You can mix these colors around to get other colors. Okay, but if we can't mix, say, any color to get a particular blue, yeah, these are your main primary colors. You have primary, secondary colors, tertiary colors off of those things, and how you mix them would determine. You have analogous colors. Okay. That's color theory. So again, that's another thing that you kind of want to get down and try to master. If you have not taken a class in color theory, you may want to take a class in color theory. Because when these people are hiring artists, 9 times out of 10, they're going to ask for you to demonstrate that. They may ask, do you have background knowledge in color theory? Okay, so that's what we have here. Now, and you're just going to determine which one you want to use, but that constant one is probably going to be used a lot because I can pipe it into almost anything here. But if I want to start playing around with any particular colors here, like the constant 3, I will use a constant 3 a lot. I will push this off to the side. So say now we need to change this over to black. You're going to hear a term called albedo. In visual effects, or visual effects might use the word color. In game, we use the word albedo. Albedo pretty much means that if we were looking at a color map may be color and ambient occlusion mixed together, because I see all the shadows and where all that stuff is. Okay, Wednesday I'll see if I can demo that in Photoshop and show you what I mean by that also. But albedo is the absence of shadow. It's just flat color. So if you hear this term albedo, we're creating an albedo. That's what we're doing. So I'm going to take this color one here and drop it right there. And what I'm doing is dragging this off. And this is a little node connector. And I can do this. To remove this, hold down the Alt key and drag it off or click it off. I can do this. I can drag off and say I want this to go to the color. So I can add and find another color there. Okay, I can right click here, I can convert it, connect to it. So what I'm doing here is if I right click here and connect it to the base color, it automatically connects to the base color, just like that. But now I want to change that color. So if I come here and click on here, I see I have my RGB colors on the constant there. So my albedo, I want to make a 0.4. Okay, and it's probably, I probably should have done this on a constant 1. Let me do that. Sorry. 1. Connect there. Let's go here and just make this a, for black it's going to be 0.04. Enter. That's my albedo right there. Now, in order to get this to look right, we need to connect something to the metallic and the roughness. So I can either duplicate this, or I already have one there, but say I don't have one, I'm just going to press 1 and add another one here. And if I want to add a constant 1, I can duplicate this, Control D to make 2 of them. These are going to be connected to the metallic. One is going to go to the roughness. Okay, and you see what just happened there. So metallic and roughness. That roughness is how much, with it set to 0, we're looking at this thing being pretty shiny because we have a metallic value. If I increase this, we're going to start getting some cloudiness there. So we want to leave the metallic set to 0, but here we want to change this to a 0.3. There's some information online on how to do this type of stuff and what and the reason why we're doing this. These are just some values that someone has already determined to make this black ball. That's what we're doing here. So we have a 0.4, 0.04, and a roughness of about 0.3 with no metallic. The metallic is set down to 0, and then I'm going to apply that, save that, and then I can drag and drop it there. So there's my black ball, just like that. Now I can come in here, Control D to duplicate this. Let's rename it. No, let's get out there first. Just can't double click. Select here, press F2. This one is going to be white. So it'll be, we won't call it ball, matte. I'm gonna double click. And this, for this one, we need to make a small little change here. So the albedo for this one is going to be 0.8. 0.85. Come on, 0.85. That's 85% pretty much is what's happening here. So the black one, you're not gonna, you don't want to make it 0. Okay, because really nothing out there is 100% black. There's a material that is made that someone is testing that does not give off any light, and light can, and not, we're not talking about a black hole. I think they call it a black hole material. Someone made this thing. That thing there is pure 100% black. I don't know how they did it, but it does exist. Okay, so at 85%, we're gonna get, this is where snow might be. I think if I'm not mistaken, you might get snow at about 85% of an albedo color. Okay, so my metallic here is going to be set to 0, but my roughness here is going to be set to 0.3. So we're going to leave it the same. Okay, so I can apply that, save that, and what I want to do here in this case, Vanta Black, that's cool. I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, or I could have pressed the selected, hold down the Alt key and made a clone of that, like that. What I normally do here in this case is I'll stack these. I'll go here and I'll do something like that. The black one should be at the top though, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's set this one about right here. Yeah, and then we'll drag and drop that right on. See what's happening? We'll duplicate this one like that. This is going to be my middle gray. I'm going to take this one and duplicate it. Rename gray. We'll call it mid gray. Mid gray underscore capital MAT. Right there, double click it. And the middle gray, remember what I said, the albedo color for that middle gray is not 0.5, it's 0.18. That's middle gray. We're going to leave the values the same. So no metallic and a 0.3 on roughness, so 30% roughness. Apply that, save it. Let's close it. So this one is going to be our middle gray. Okay. Let's duplicate it again. Clone it. Let's drop it down here. I'm going to select all of these this time and drop them down a little bit more right there. And let's get you on the, yeah. So this one we need to make a chrome. We're going to change the color there. Let's take this one and duplicate it. Chrome matte. Yeah, so we now, let's double click. Let's change this one. Now this is where we get into making some value changes for the on the constant 1 for the metallic and the roughness. The albedo on for chrome is 0.9. Never, sorry, 0.9. Never make chrome 100% reflective, because nothing is 100% reflective. Understand? It's going to be about 0.9, 0.94. So if you read Richards and you've taken his workshops and all, he will state that, he'll explain why, and he's correct. There's nothing out there should be 100%. No, nothing that reflective. Okay. And if someone says, hey, it does matter, because there are people out there who are looking for that believability. There are clients out there who want to have real materials, that look at real materials in their work. So that's what they're looking for. That's what they want you to actually produce. Okay. All right. So my metallic. The metallic needs to be 1. Okay. So we're getting that metallic type look there, and then the roughness though we're going to take down to 0.05. There we go. That's chrome. Okay, just like that. Apply it, save it, drag and drop it on it, and there we have it. This is the way you would start all of your scenes with something like this, that you're going to have these materials in there. So let's scale these up some. I want to make them a little larger. Okay, and we can go in. We can go in and change the names if we need to. Make sure we go if you wanna do stuff like that. F2. White ball. F2. Or mid gray. And then we got the chrome. F2. Let's rename that right. Any questions? So 1, 2, 3, 4. We can group these also. If you select them and press Control G, you can put them in a group or whatever if you need to do stuff like that also. So there are our balls there that we're going to be working on and all for this type of stuff. So if you look at my notes, I give an exposure meter in steps somewhere in my notes. You can find that information on how to, because pretty much what exposure done is measuring that stuff in f-stops. If you understand f-stops, that's what it's explaining. And in the camera settings inside of Unreal, you can control the f-stop. F-stop is also has a lot to do with how blurry a scene is. The higher the f-stop, the more blurry something is. Okay, so the lower the f-stop, the less blurry. So there you go, right there. The base color. Oh, that base color for the chrome. Let's take a look at it. You can shade that chrome. You know, sometimes you will have things like a color. Let me show you how to do that real quick. Let's make a change. Let's start right here. Let's go ahead and say yes. Let's duplicate this. Control D. And say we want to make this a red. So you say car paint or something like that, some sort of red color or chromish. Oh, come on, F2. I hate that I can't get to the end of this thing. Here we go. So let's go and add a little red here. Let me show you how to do that. So if you knew the value for red, you can add the value for red, but we don't. So I'm going to use a constant 3. And what do I do to add that constant 3? Somebody tell me. I'm gonna quiz you right quick. What's the shortcut?
You could duplicate one of those, or you could just press 1.
Nope. If I hold down, you hold down the 1 key and click, that's a constant 1. I want a constant 3.
Then 3.
Hold down. Actually state that. You just can't say press 3. Okay. So say hold the 3 key down, and then click. See that? Now, this is where it's gonna start getting a little interesting. I'm gonna take this one and pipe it in there. It's gonna remove this value. See what? So we have no color there. I can click here and see we can come over here to try to find the color. I can click here into that little swatch area and I can pick a red, or I can put in the value for red, which would be 1. So we take that all the way up to actual 1. It'll change it to red, or we can move the slider up. See, 1 is 100%. And say okay. See that? We get there. Now we're gonna start getting into things like mixing colors, blending different colors, because that's what your assignment's gonna call for. So we want to start playing around with mixing some of these colors. So we have that chrome there. If I want to, I can start playing around with the values here. So say I want to start adding a little bit of roughness, more roughness than I have here. So because I have that constant 1, I can come in here and I can also slide this up. As I slide this, see, we're over. Anything when you have that integer like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we want to go like below that 0.5, 0.8. See what's happening there? So we can put in a 0.1. Let's see what the 0.1 is going to give us. Let's go 0.15. See how now we're getting more of that blending happening? It depends on which version you're using. I don't know what's going on, Isabel, with yours. I don't know why you're having a lot of issues. You could be using the beta version of Unreal. If you're using 5.7, don't use that version. Go back to 5.5, 5.4, 5.5, or something like that. Even 5.6. That could be what the issue might be. Okay. Let's take a look real quick at mixing. colors. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, basically what I'm doing here is once you create the material, once you create that material, whatever, just create a basic material and just assign a constant 1 from there, and then start building that up. Okay, or go back later and just watch this video. Okay. I'm gonna definitely put other links up that will from other artists that will help you with this type of stuff. Let's look at blending. Okay, some other stuff. Now, I'm jumping the gun a little bit. No, I think I need to hold off. I'm gonna hold off for now. I'm just gonna apply this and save it. We'll leave it in the list because I do need to go ahead and get you for your assignment. We need to take a look at this whole dielectric and non-dielectric stuff. So here's what you're going to do. Let's take one of these. Let's duplicate it a few times. Okay, so we have that middle gray. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just holding down the Alt key. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We may not need 10, but we'll see. All right, so we need to go down this list. So I am looking at dielectrics and non-dielectrics, and I also need to take all of these and duplicate them one more time backwards. So the one in the front will make dielectrics, and the one in the back will make non-dielectrics. So however you want to do that. So I'm going to take this one, and well, we need to create a dielectric starting out from 0. Okay, so we're gonna start at 0. Okay, so pretty much everything here at 0 is going to be set to 0. So let's create a new material here. DIE for dialect. Actually put the L in there. Which one is going to be 0 underscore capital MAT? So I want to do something like that. So this one is going to be that one. Okay, let's double click it to open up the material editor. And what we want to do here is add a constant to all of these. So I'm going to go 1 click 3 times. We're just going to pipe this into each one of these metallic and the roughness. Okay, so we want to keep this dielectric at let's see here. Let's go. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's what I thought. We need to probably make this all only 9 of these things. So we're gonna start down at the lowest one. We're gonna leave the color right where it is, or if you want to make it a middle gray, what was that middle gray one again? Anyone remember?
0.18.
0.18. So let's look. Let's do that. Let's make this one 0.18. Middle gray. And now we're going to take the roughness and make it a 0.1. And then we're going to take the metallic and leave the metallic at 0. Okay. So this is, I'm playing around with the plastics ones right now. So we want to make everything plastic that looks like plastic. So let's go ahead and apply that. Save it. And let's drop it right there. Can't tell if it did. And what you're going to notice over time is, see that little highlight right there? It's when we start increasing the roughness up a little bit, that thing should start getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes by. Let's take these two out. I don't think I'm going to need them. Okay. And we can repeat this. So let's take this one and duplicate it. Let's make this one 1. You can put in the percentage if you want to. You can say roughness, however you want to do this. So my dielectric 1. Let's go ahead and assign that one, and let's go in and make a change here. So my roughness here, we're gonna make 0.2, and all you're doing is just increasing that. 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, so forth and so on. Apply that, And I don't know if you can see that. Let's frame up on this. See what's happening there? Look how small that roughness, that reflectivity is there. So it's getting bigger and bigger. So let's duplicate this one.
I had a question.
Yeah.
So would it be like, just like in simpler terms, just to relate dielectric to just roughness?
Pretty much.
Or is it like more in depth?
It can be pretty much. So the roughness channel, see the metallic channel, we don't have any values there because we're not making any metals, anything reflective, right? So here we're only talking about the roughness. So most plastic, if you study a plastic is going to be pretty rough. It's not that reflective. And that's what we're changing here. Save. I made it 0.3. And you see, we'll see it's, so the bloom on there is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what you're going to do. So 0.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. Let's take the one on the end and let me show you that 0.9. Okay. Take this one and duplicate it. 9. Go to the end. Oops, I didn't want to do that. Let's drop it here and make this one 0.9. And see what happened there. It's pretty much gone. Pretty much gone, right? I need to rename that one to 0.8 or just to 8. And double click it to open it up. Just make that small little change. You need to have a very good understanding of what's happening with metallic and roughness. So yes, that is going to be one of the most important things here. Save and drag and drop that on. You may not see it, and it's going to be hard to tell, but this one is fully spread, and we're slowly just working our way back down. So that's what you want to do. So the bloom is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger until you don't see anything. So let's go ahead and jump over to the non-dielectric. So say that one there. So that non-dielectric, I'm just going to repeat this, and let's create a new material. Non-dielectric. And we'll start at 1 for metallic. Let's add it here. Double click. And let's make that a middle gray again. So I'm going to go 1, hold down the 1 key and click 3 times. Let's just pipe those in. All right, so 0.18. I already have the point there. 0.8, middle gray. So no roughness this time, and then we'll go in and we'll start this one at a. Now we're gonna work backwards. And to be honest with you, I think we are gonna have to have some roughness. This is a little different. The dielectrics, the plastics, are not gonna have metallics, but the metal, the non-dielectrics, are going to have them. So what I mean by that is that roughness is going to be 0, but this one is going to have a value of 1 to make it really reflective. Okay, and as we go down the line, we're going to add roughness, but we're going to leave the metallic values at 1. This one is going to change a little bit. Okay, so we get in tight on this and check it, frame up on it. So you see how rough that is? I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little rough there. So let's take this one, duplicate it. 2. Drop you on, double click. So we're gonna change, we're gonna leave the metallic at I got it. It should be 1, not 0.1. I'm sorry. That should actually be 1. But this one here, this value, yeah, that's correct. This value is going to be now 0.1. So we're going to start adding a little bit of roughness. I think I need to go back and make a change to the other one to get it correct. See it? Yeah. So this one here is not correct. Let's make a change here. So that roughness is going to be 0, but this one is going to be 1, straight out 1. Yes. But if you look, see the little sun right there, how small that is, and now we're getting it's blooming out a little bit. That's what we're changing. We're making a small little changes to that roughness. Duplicate 3. And for the third one, we want to, which is actually a 0.2. It's not 0.3. It's going to be a 0.2. So we just slowly working our way up. So that roughness is going to be 0.2, with the metallic is going to stay there. See that? Drag and drop that on. And then see it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Let's go and make this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Double click you. 0.3. Apply, save. This is good practice for you all. And see, it's getting bigger. You're just gonna keep doing that all the way up to 9. Okay. If I got to get you the values, I'll get you the values, but it's pretty easy to set this up like that. Okay. So again, these are going to be your plastics. This one is going to be your metals. You need to understand that. And there's a reason why we're doing this, is because these, you want to start playing around with these different values to get a certain look. So let's go in, and I don't have the color for gold, the RGB color. There's a list out there somewhere. I may have put it someplace inside the resources. Someone look online and see if you can find the actual color for gold, the RGB values for gold. And you may find multiple ones. So I'll have to look through and see if I have that list. I don't have it right now. Look that up for me, and I'm gonna go in and try to make a gold. So I'm gonna duplicate this, increase the scale, frame up on it. Okay, we'll try that, Danny. Let's create another one here. What I also want you to do is look up the specularity. See if you can find the roughness value and metallic value for gold. PBR. Make sure you put in PBR as you're doing this. I need to make a change here. These are two. I don't know if you all know this, but you can decrease the size of your thumbnails here. So we can make those small if we want to give yourself more room by going into the sprocket here, going down to thumbnail size. We'll try different ones, but again, go in and see if you can find the roughness value, the PBR roughness value for gold and the metallic value for gold. Let me check the back of my. I already have them. I'm sorry, I do. Well, I don't know if I have the. On the very back page, I will print stuff out and I'll put it here. What I'm not seeing is the roughness. Everybody coming up with something. I'm looking at gold base color, reflection color, and the metalness. Okay, that's what I'm looking at here, reflection, because it does have reflection color. So I have 244, 202, and 104 in the web-based color. Metal roughness and 0.3 to 0.3. All right, let's try that. So let's create a material here. Gold matte. Let's drag and drop you on. No, that you have metalness, but you don't have the roughness. You're showing specularity. And remember what I said, specularity is going to be different. Those are for more visual effects for what you have. That's fine. We'll just work with what we have. We'll keep playing around but the colors, I might be able to use the colors. I don't know. All right, so let's make the color a constant 3 into the base color. And the values that I'm looking at is 244, 244, 202. Don't know if it's going to be correct. And 104. Okay, is we're getting somewhat of a goldish color. And let's make a constant 1 here. Let's pipe those in to metallic and roughness. Yep. And Danny said your roughness, we're gonna make it a between 0.1 and 0.3, which makes sense because it gets a different, it could be varnished, it could be stained. So let's take it up to the highest of 0.3. And then let's take that metallic and make it a 1. So we get something like that. I'm not quite liking that color there, even though I see the color here. Let's see it. It's saying that's what it is. Now I do have, if I had the hex linear RGB, I could put that in. I'm seeing something that is the base color for web, but these are not going to be correct. Okay, so let's just go ahead and save that, apply it and save it, and see what we get first. Yeah, it's showing something. Does that look goldish? No, let's change the colors. So some of you said, Danny said 255, 215. Let's try that. $255 and $215. And 0, I'm assuming 0. That's crazy.
That is not it.
Yeah, that ain't it. So you see how complicated this gets now? We're looking at different values for gold. So metallic gold, so Kai said 211, 175. This is why you just don't come in and start playing around and making up a color. You got to find these values or it's not going to look right. I'm going to try Kai's colors. 211, 175, and 55. So what I know what's setting this off. What's setting this off? 175, 55 base color. Maybe I need to do that. So let's go 1.766. It's gonna be crazy if that is it. 0.36. Yes. So the base color. So you're getting two different values. Where are you getting that? Do you have a link where you're actually getting that from? So the base color is the values we want, and that's right, because remember what I said about these RGB colors. One is pretty much 100%. We're blowing this out. I'm glad this happened. This prime example. That RGB color, when you have one, you're looking at a value of 100%. When you have, so we're looking at 76% of green and 33% of the blue. Okay. So the base colors is what we have here. My base colors is absolutely wrong also. So I'm going to have to find a different sheet for that. Oh, good. You got this from the Unreal site. Let's look at that right quick. Yes, I forgot about that. they have a chart in here, and they also cover, look at that, they cover how to do things. Please, if you're not utilizing the Unreal development website, and they're your dielectrics and non-dielectrics, they're showing you right there. This is actually what you're going to be working on, partly. So this is a good, go through some of this stuff here. This is pretty good. I totally forgot about this. It may be in my list, in my links someplace, I don't know. But there's your metallic. I'm assuming that this is gold or whatever. But we finna have some fun right quick. Let's do some other stuff here. So let's take a look at that. Save. Close it. Now that looks more like gold, right? Right? Let's change this up a little bit. So let's take this one. Let's clone it. Let's add, I'm gonna duplicate this one. Leave it there. Let's go ahead and make some little changes here. Let's start blending in color. Let me show you that. So let me show you a multiply. We're gonna take a look at multiply, add, and a lerp. So let's take this color, let's duplicate it. Let's change the color to something a little bit more orangish. Okay, so we have that. Let's go more saturated as an orange. All right, so we have these two colors that I want to blend together. Let's start out with a multiply. So a multiply pretty much is going to take these two colors and it's going to try to exponentially blend them. Okay, it allows you to increase the values from dark into light in the color values. That's pretty much what it's doing there. And how do I want to show you this? Let's take these two, and to add a multiply, hold down the M key, and there's the multiply. And I normally should be doing it with a different color. Let's save that. So I'm going to pipe this into A, and then let's take this one and go right into the base color. We're going to add a constant node. So basically one of these, we're going to take it, one, click here, and I'm going to pipe that into that one. Okay, it's set to 0. Now, as I start increasing this, the color's going to come up. It should get, see what it's doing? Until it goes, it fades out. That is what a multiplier can give you. We can go in the opposite direction too, but that's what it's going to give you. So we can control how intense this thing is with a multiply node. Pretty much is how that works. You can blend. We can try to blend these two together. Just to show you that real quick and see if we can get something through it. There are other ways and better ways of doing this. One is called a lerp, but linear interpolation. But I'm going to add another multiply. Hit M, and you can take a multiply and drive it into another multiply, and then we can take this one and drive it there, and then pipe that in here. You see that? We're getting something else now, using this value to slowly start increasing that. So we can take it out, 0, which it's going to multiply on top of that. It should have given, no, it's not going to give us any color because it has set to 0.1. See how dark it is? So it is taking the gold and taking the orange, and it's trying to blend those two together. So you can do stuff like that. It's crazy with the amount of stuff that you can do here. All right, so I'm dragging around these, and I can move and push this to the side like that. Let's take a look at the lerp. In this case, let's take these two, duplicate. I'm just going to use the exact same channels here. And a lerp, linear interpolation. I want to say yes, the L key. If I hold down the L key, I get a linear interpolation right there. This should blend these two colors, but let's go crazy here. Let's make this one a blue, bluish. Let's take that one. Oh no, let's leave these two colors here. So I'm gonna pipe the blue into A, the orange into B. Let's put it into there. Now, and it's going to blend. See, it's trying to blend these two together. And I can control how much of the blending is happening by adding a constant right there. So you see with it off, we go blue. If I put in a, say, a 0.5, it's going to take these two colors and blend them. If I take it all the way up to a 1, it goes to the orange color. See how that works? This is called a linear interpolation. So you could do all kind of crazy, more crazy crap in here. So you can take whatever color, textures, and all. So let me show you how to add a texture right quick. So we want to add a little small texture to this thing. So to add a texture, I'm going to hold down the T key, and there we go. There's my texture. So we need to drive the texture into something, but we don't have a texture to actually, we don't see a texture. So first, let's go get a texture. I'm going to move this off screen, and I'm going to go into my content browser and look for textures here. Which one's smart? Let's find the ones in this starter kit. There we go. So we can take any one of these textures here, and we can drive them. So one of the textures, I'm looking for more grayscale information. I don't want any color information on this type of thing. So maybe that little slate. Let's see what we have. Let's go the Perlinoise. So I'm going to drag that in here. And see, here's the texture sample. This one didn't have a sample. If I click here, I have to go and find and know the place to add that texture sample. But if you just drag and drop your texture in, it automatically will sort of set it up for you. So let's just drive it in and see what it looks like here first. Okay, not sure if we can see it. Let me zoom in on here. We should be getting something into that lerp. I tell you what, let's just drive it straight into the base color first. There it is. So we see it there, and let's go ahead and drive it back in here. But it's, remember what it's doing is taking that. It's taking that one value there. If I come in and put in like 0.5, we're gonna start seeing that. Something like that. But here's the kicker. I don't want that pattern to show up here. I want it to show up someplace else, like the roughness. Right? I want that pattern to show up in the roughness channel. So let's take this one and go back here. Let's take this one and bring it down here. Let's give myself a little bit more room. Is this making sense to you all? Okay, is it?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so we have the texture pattern that I want to drive this texture pattern into the roughness channel. Okay, so what I'm going to do, if I just pipe it right into the roughness channel, we're gonna get that. Pretty noisy, right? Sometimes you're gonna want to mitigate that. You want to make changes, and you want to give your artist or your team the ability to make small little corrections there, because you're gonna be asked to do it anyway. So what that means is I need to use this. I want to use this constant node like I did over here. I don't want to blend. I'm going to use a multiply. So I want to multiply the texture, the constant, and drive it into the roughness. Like that. And let's take this one here, this metallic one. So we're using the exact same one. I don't want to use the exact same one. I tell you what, let's take this one and drive it in instead. Yeah, that's a little bit better. So we want to leave the metallic alone. Now you see the difference? Now we have a little breakup in that pattern there. And we can still go in here and make changes to the lerp. So if you want to add more orange, increase the value. Okay, 0.6, something like that. You can do all kind of little stuff like that. Not 6.6. Be careful there. So you see that, and you can do stuff like add other colors, a gradient between the two to sort of, and it's part of your assignment. There's a gradient little option. That's going to be research, because there are multiple ways of adding a gradient. You can add a gradient through texture. You can add a gradient by finding a slope or something inside of here. This stuff will get more complicated, but please, in order to get better at doing this, do your research. Just do your research and write that stuff down. So I have a notebook full of these things. So if I know I want to make a particular, use a lerp, and I want to make a particular color or a gradient and all, I have stuff written down in a notebook that helps me with all of this stuff here. Okay. Let me show you the normal map real quick, because this is why I said I would. This is what a normal map looks like. It's purple, that little lavender color. I'm just going to grab one of these and drag it in. That normal map, that's what it looks like there. That normal map has to drive the normal. Now we have a tangent and we have a regular normal. I'm just going to drive it here. And what it's going to do is it's going to start giving us that. See, that looks like pink foil now. But guess what? We can control this. You can flatten it too. There are ways of flattening out, and you want to look for there's a node in here called a flatten node, but let's just keep going. I don't want to use that today and play around with that, but let's see about sort of changing this a little bit though. So I'm going to add another constant, 1. Okay. And I want to sort of blend that. So I'll multiply. So the multiply is just how much power I'm giving this thing. So let's just pipe it into the normal. Should take it out. Yep. Should take it out. And now over time, 0.3. It's still high. May have to go lower than that, 0.02 if I can. No, it doesn't look like it's going to change it. I may not have a choice but to use that flatten, because this is using straight scalar information, RGB information. It may not allow me to. Let me see if there is a flatten. Yeah, flatten normal. So what will a flatten normal give me? Let's see what we can do with this thing. And you won't know what nodes are out there until you do your research on what the nodes are. And I think one of the links I provide for you, he covers what these are. Flatten. Do I even need that for the time being? Let's take this out. This may not give me anything, any results. See, there's a flatness right there. I don't think it's going to give me what I want. So if I take it up to 1, yeah, it's taking it out. So that you have to increase the values to actually flatten that down, to soften that. So 0.5, it's not as bumpy now. 0.8, yeah, we're softening that, but we have some bumps there. So the power is in your hands. Okay, you just got to do your research on what you're looking for, what you want to do here, things like that. I don't have, if I had a texture here, some pattern, I would show you already how to. I'm gonna have to show you that on Wednesday, because I know we're going over. On Wednesday, I'll show you how to make things glow and pulse and all that good stuff. But this is what you're gonna be working on, doing stuff like this. So the assignment is going to call for you to use a multiply to blend colors together. I want you to show me that. You can use a gradient. Okay, show me that type of stuff. But you want to play. This is for the next few days. I expect you all to play. I will create a work in progress section. So over the next till Wednesday, I want you to start dropping in these things or just screenshotting them to show me what they're going to look like. So let's apply that. Save it. And then let's go back up to wherever my materials are. There it is, right there. So there you go. That's how that works. And this is the time to just have fun, play around with the material stuff. I will get more videos up for you. And there's some stuff that is already there in the Unreal or the material. There should be a resource section that you can take a look at. Okay.